intermix some angel work. And the angel that I want to talk about is number 40, and it's the angel Socodiah. And Socodiah basically means like the shield of God or God's protection. And so this aspect has to do with um, protection, obviously, but it's also about I'm looking at my notes right there, like emotional attacks from other people, negative energies from the environment. There's like kind of a spiritual shielding that even helps, like if we're having inner conflicts, to minimize the manifestation of those conflicts with other people or in situations that we might be in. Sometimes we might have something arise up. It could be a thing from our past, from our childhood, some issue that's from the unconscious that is beginning to manifest. Could be also a karmic weight or a karmic issue that might be coming forth. And you could think of the idea of working with Sokadaya as the way to kind of insulate you in your surroundings, in your situation, in your work, in your relationship, so that the inner conflict doesn't impact the stability that you have around you. I think that's a really important aspect to have, because sometimes, like when we're doing deep therapy on people that have had past traumas or something, I mean, there's always a little bit of that there. Like if I start to address this, it's going to blow my life apart. Or if I start to resolve this pattern that I have in my family or in my workplace, what is it going to blow up? And this idea of working Sokadaya, I think it's a nice way of always encouraging the body to move to this place that's like safer and more stable, so that when things arise, we don't have the instability that possibly could come with going a little bit deeper into something that we need to shift or change. you know, Even just having the intellectual idea that, yeah, that could be a thing. Because I mean, I think that's a big difficulty that happens when we're working these different mystical practices, or when we're doing deep healing, or even when we're going into intuition. Intellect is like, if I let go of this, this is repetition, this is something I'm maintaining, we have a certain level of comfort or safety here. If I let go of this, it might go nuts, it might completely go nuts. And it probably won't, but the intellect still needs to be convinced a little bit. And I like this idea of working Sokadaya because it does help you have this sense of safety in the nervous system and the body and the intellect, so that when you are shifting, when you are making change, that it's still going to be okay. Like it's still safe. Like life is not going to fall apart, or my situations aren't necessarily going to fall apart. They might shift and change, but the change is going to be okay. Like it's not going to, and I got to pick up the pieces from the side of the road and try to figure something out. So I kind of like this idea for this. So it is kind of like the thing that I wrote in the booklet is it's like a guardian of spiritual healing. Like, it's not just like, oh, it's a guardian, oh, it's a protector. Like it helps like protect the idea or the potential for spiritual healing, because the mind can talk us into things and the mind can talk us out of things. And I think when we are starting to go deeper past just physical healing, we start to go into psychological healing. Even deeper, we start to go into spiritual healing, when we're really looking at like the issues that might be associated with like the soul, the soul's journey in a particular lifetime. As we keep going deeper and deeper to that, it gets a little scarier every time. Like it's hard to let go, even to do psychological work, but to get down into these really deep things, like I need to feel safe if I'm going to do that, or I at least need to feel stable, or I at least need to be able to feel like I'm going to be okay and that I'm not just running like a maniac into something and who knows what's going to happen. And the work with Socodiah, it does help stimulate transformation. It still helps to stimulate spiritual growth. It helps you to feel more stable as you go through and do these processes. It helps you to go deeper. It helps you to shift things in your environment, be it that you're shifting the environment or how you perceive the environment and interact with the environment. So there's a lot to be unwound with this idea of Sokadaya. And so, yeah, I'm reading when I read, I'm like, boy, why am I not working this angel all the time? Right? Ugh. One thing that I wrote here is like those seeking spiritual enlightenment or those in the midst of a spiritual shift, you call upon Sokadaya, you know. And I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but I want to say Sokadaya is also one of the angels and working deeper aspects of some of the planetary work that the radiant mind was for Mercury, the heart and the thousand petaled lotus was for the moon. The one coming up in August is going to be about Jupiter, which is about expansion, transformation, um, healing, and manifestation, prosperity, things of that nature. And so let's work Sokadaya. So you have the oil, and let's hold it to your chest and chin down and do 8 or 9 of the materialization breaths. You're just being still. Okay. You're just being still. Now, yesterday we played with the idea of toning, and we also played with the idea of using the angel as a mantra. And the reason to do them they don't necessarily do the same thing, even though we're using the same angel or the same name. Toning tends to hit more of the intuitive mind, the right side of the brain. It also improves vagal tone. When we do it in the form of a mantra, it hits a little bit more of the prefrontal cortex. We just did the materialization breath. And yes, it hits the whole part of the brain, but the materialization breath also hits, for one, the circulation of cerebrospinal fluid, which helps to refine the nervous system. But also it hits a little bit more of the backside of the brain, right? So we're working different aspects of the brain to help the brain be more of a vessel for the soul rather than a vessel of the lower nature and the past conditioning. So we're not just unwinding a little bit of some aspect in our conditioning. We're starting to be very surgical about the things that we're going after, right? These things are multifaceted. The intellect, I mean, this is always the difficulty with the intellect. The intellect serves us well in some areas, but it defines something and sticks it on the shelf. And in that definition, a lot of times it thinks that it knows the whole picture. From the point of view of intuition, there's multiple facets. There's all these different aspects, right? And so we want to be able to hit these different aspects, these different pieces, and not just assume that we're hitting it all because we've said a name or done a little practice. We want to really seek something. We really want to search something out. We really want to produce a result or find something in ourselves or create some sort of movement in the environment, right? So at first, we're going to tone the name Socodiah, right? So remember, we're saying it in syllables, and then we kind of lengthen the syllables and we lengthen the gap in between the syllables. So I'm going to do it as an example, and then you're going to follow along, and then we're going to play with lengthening both the syllable and the gap. Okay, ready? So, ko, dai, oh. Again, now together. So you're either going to whisper it, you're going to verbalize it, or at the very least, repeat it in your mind. So, ko, dai, oh. Just be still for a moment. So we're going to lengthen the word or the syllable. So, excuse me. I started jumping ahead. Let's start over. Ready? So now we're going to lengthen the space or the gap between the syllables. Again, so. Ko. The. Notice how that feels. Now let's experience the angel using the name as a mantra, right? So it will go Socodiah, Socodiah, right? So again, verbalize, whisper, or in your mind. This is going to target a different part of the brain. Ready? I'll start and just jump in whenever you're ready. Socodiah, Socodiah, Socodiah. Socodiah, 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 Socodiah. Then just be still. And then again, the oil to your chest. And let's do another 8 or 9 of the materialization breath. Kind of. Oh, oh, yeah, it's a little bit different with the angels. We'll work our way like the quick version. I guess we can do it. Right, we can do that. So Samantha's reminding me that we talked about waking the 4 quadrants, but angel style. I wasn't going to do it, but she just talked me into it. I discussed it yesterday with Robert. And so we're going to do that as well. We'll just do a little quick version of it. But, usually you would do this at the end of the universal angelic process. But we've done enough right now. We could do it. It's different. It's the same and different as the org programming. You're working the 4 quadrants, right? Which is the same. But when we're working the ORIC program, for those that have done the ORIC program, we go through the left side of the body, the front side of the body, the right side of the body, and the back side of the body. And really, we're not working the body, we're working the aura on each side of the body, right? And we're breaking down, the negative elements and negative thought forms and, energetic patterns and the energy of thought and all these aspects, even the collective unconscious and conscious that impacts these different areas, right? And so, even aspects of the intuitive mind are in the aura. Like, when we did that part where we did the Jungian aspects, where we looked at the shadow self and we looked at, the anima, animus, and when we looked at, um, you know, the persona and all these aspects are also within the aura. So when we go through and we're doing the aura programming, part of what we're doing is we're shifting these things from their negative influences and we're cultivating their like positive influences and eventually shifting away from the influence of just being driven by the lower nature, and we're helping to bring in more soul energy to be like surrounded by the pure white light. When we're driven by the lower nature, we're surrounded by the dirty gray energy of all our past, experiences and the drives of the lower body. That is literally alchemy. It's shifting the aura from like the color of lead or dirty gray to eventually white and eventually gold, right? So that is the kind of the journey of what auric programming is. And so that's why there's multiple aspects of the auric programming, not just the auric programming, but the physical blockages, the physiology, the cognitive processes, the intuitive component, and then eventually the soul energy, right? Where we're trying to transform this aspect of the aura. Now, as we work with angels, right, that deepens a level of healing in our body, especially on the emotional level, still mental, still in the physical realm, but it's touching things that are way beyond our intellect. It's like we talk about like going beyond the senses, but even with the idea of the mind, it's hard to go beyond the senses. It's almost like we need somebody to grab our hand and go, let's go way over there, right? And that's what angels do for us, is they help us go way beyond the senses, that our normal mental faculties, our normal, emotional faculties aren't able to take us there, right? And so there's a level of healing that can happen with angels that's much deeper than just, I would like to have some healing in my body or in my mind, or, it's a much deeper form of healing. And the deeper forms of psychotherapy are really more spiritual healing than psychological healing, right? And so when we start to work with the angels and the aura, it's not going slow, it's actually going faster. Because like when we go faster, we're bringing in that angelic energy and we're amplifying these positive aspects within the aura. Even if we've never worked the auric programming before, you're still bringing in this kind of light that has, it's an energy with consciousness, and then you're expanding it within the energy body, right? So it's just like how we did the mantra, where you go left, front, right, back, but then you keep picking up the pace. Left, front, right, back, left, front, right, back, left, front, right, back. Visualizing it as a whole doesn't do that. I mean, we're bringing some energy, but we want the angelic tornado to come in and flush things out of our system. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold the bottle up to your nose. You're going to take some nice, long, slow, deep breaths for a moment. And then I'm going to guide you through the directions. Okay? Okay, so you're inhaling. So when we say left, front, right, back, you're doing the whole left side of the face, neck, shoulder, all the way down to the ankle, right? Then when you do the front side, you're doing the face, throat, chest, abdomen, down the front of the legs to the tops of the feet. Then you go to the right side of the face, neck, shoulder, all the way down to the ankle. And then when you do the back side, the back of the head, neck, the whole back, the hips, down the backs of the legs to the heels, right? So top to bottom, we're going in quadrants. Okay. So you're inhaling the angel. Your awareness is on the left side. Now move it to the front. Now move it to the right. Now move it to the back side. Okay. So ready? So left, front, right, back. 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 Be still. And we'll keep expanding for a moment. So just be still. That was just a little taste of it. But how did that feel? How did you start grinning here?